To make this interesting, I suppose, so you stay awake, is I'm going to make it a little personal today. And I'm going to start out with back in 2007, I sat in a WoodSolutions seminar in Perth run by Gregory Nolan. And it was all about how to build box beams. And we literally made a little box beam. Now at that time I was a practicing architect, working for an architectural firm, and I was incredibly frustrated that such a document like this didn't exist because I really wanted to learn more about wood, and yet there would be nothing in my architectural education that allowed me to have some confidence about that journey. But as a result of attending that WoodSolutions event, talking with Greg and others, I decided to have a shift in career. And my shift was to educate myself about what you could do with wood and where you might take it. So what you're actually going to see here today is the next iteration, in a way, of what you see of Gregory's just presented in his presentation. Partly because 2 jobs back, Greg was my boss. So let's move along in time a little bit. And I helped Greg with some of the early planning for this document. And so I learned a little bit about what the language was going to be. I certainly understood a bit more about the structures. And so I've been guiding my current role to a certain extent based on the thinking that went into this job. So my current role is with Wesbeam. Wesbeam make LVL in Western Australia. I'll talk a little bit more about that down the track. But within Wesbeam, I've been brought into the company to help 2 sides of the equation. The side from a manufacturer, about to understand about what the industry wants and needs, but also to help the industry itself better understand what manufacturers can bring to the equation. So I sit across both camps, if you like. All right, but before I really start, I'm going to talk a little about innovation first. It's a term that's been bandied around a lot today. It's on the title of our presentation. But I think it's worthwhile acknowledging that innovation itself needs to be defined in order for us to understand where mass timber and this emerging opportunity presents itself. So innovation is not invention. It's the practical implementation of invention. So that's a really important thing to grasp. When we talk about innovating with timber, we are actually trying to find some novel, original, effective uses for something that someone else or somewhere else has invented. So that's what innovation is. So I imagine in all our own ways, we're all innovators because we're all trying to find new ways to do with products that we're already familiar with. But innovation by itself isn't enough. It has to be able to break into an existing market. And that's where we have this new term, a term that's starting to emerge called Exnovation. So once we've innovated, if we stop there, no one's going to make any money of it. Nobody's going to benefit from it. So we have to go into Exnovation. That's where innovative products and systems, they go through a process of testing. Then they're determined to be best in class, assuming that is successful. And then they enter the market through standardization. Standardization, I believe, is the goal that we all want to achieve. If we want to take some of the ideas that have been innovative and were invented and then become available, regularly available. I think with Christoph's presentation, I just come back from Europe with a WoodSolutions tour. I'm going to talk a little bit about it at the end. But some of the projects that he showed there, to me, is where innovation has transferred successfully to the market to Exnovation. That's where it becomes the everyday. Now, we saw some extreme examples of being able to do compound curved glue laminated beams, and they're doing it as an everyday thing, and they really are. I saw it with my own eyes on multiple projects. So if we think innovation, what are we innovating with things that we're already familiar with? And then the next step is, where can we go with that? What can we do to exnovate that into the everyday, into the regular application? That's the first part of what I'm going to talk about. The next thing is that this happens over time. It's not something that happens overnight. The path itself can be mapped. Now, I noticed early in one of the slides, I think it was Robert's slide, he had it. Oh no, actually it wasn't Robert's slide. Anyway, there was an earlier slide that tried to map this out in quite a complex graph. I've got a much simpler version of it. You can see we have a simple graph there. On the upright is innovation, and then the higher level, and then Exnovation at the lower level, and then it's time and market adoption. So if someone has an innovative idea, it tends to be a small idea. It tends to be a bit of a pilot idea. But over time, it will progress and slowly grow and become Exnovation, and the market adopts it. And then that cycle is repeated. The reason that I'm making this point is that I think it's really important. It doesn't matter where you sit within the spectrum of professions that are involved in construction, is that if you think about it in that context, you think what your role is, you will be part of the new language, the new opportunities that are presented. And I believe now, and I've set my career up, I think, to pursue this, that mass timber and engineered timber are going to be the next big thing. They already are in other countries, and I believe that is already the case now. It's developing now.